Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey with Nicole and Azan on 90 Day Fiancé. Let's get to the show.
Literally, you're making me feel like I don't matter.
Yeah, so?
I don't matter?
No, not anymore. I'm sorry, but...
Get away.
Yeah, it's pretty awful. We saw the scene in the last episode. Pretty awful words that he is saying, and it makes total sense that she would be upset by that.
When we are fighting, I used to really bit words to Nicole, even like, I don't care about you. It's only because I know just like the only thing that make her like stop talking.
So that's an interesting statement. The only thing that'll get her to stop talking is if I'm mean to her. So another way to put that I've heard from avoidant people is the only way for her to stop talking and hear my feelings and to really know what's happening in my heart is if I say something really drastic. I've heard people say that before, that they essentially what's happening to the avoidant person is they're trying to work it out and they're confused and they're like triggered, but they don't really recognize that they're triggered. They actually, avoidant people will tend to think that they're calm. If you ask them like, how calm are you? They'll be like, oh, I'm totally calm. Even though if you hooked them up to a bunch of measuring devices, you would see that they're like an 8 out of 10 on the distress scale. And they just don't even know it. Because again, when they were young, they learned to cut themselves off from their feelings. I don't know if this is Azan, total speculation. I have no idea, but they're just talking about, hypotheses here. And so they're in a fight and they don't really know that they're in distress. They're confused. They're saying things that they think are communicating how they're feeling, but they don't even really know how they're feeling. They just know they feel bad and they're trying to get the other person to do one thing or the other, and it doesn't come across well. So there's lack of awareness of self, lack of awareness of what they're triggered by, and then it's revealed in the way they talk. The other person isn't really given a chance to understand. The other person might even think that Azan, Nicole might, now if Azan is an 8 out of 10 on distress when he said those nasty things, I'm guessing Nicole doesn't even recognize that he is an 8 out of 10 because he doesn't give off that vibe. He just seems like everything's fine, and that's typical for avoidant people. He might be going through that experience, and so what I'll hear from people is they'll have those reactions, those confusions, those hurt feelings. They don't really know what's going on. They feel like there's a lot of stuff happening at them, and they feel like, how come this person won't just recognize that I'm even in the room? Well, the reason is because they're not, the avoidant person, like Azan speculation, isn't giving the other person the opportunity to really feel your heart, because you don't feel your heart, you're not communicating your heart. So then out of frustration, the avoidant person will just lash out and just say something really nasty, and this can become a pattern. And I wonder if this will be a pattern that we'll see in these two people. He'll avoid, he'll not say much, she'll overpower, she'll say a lot of things. She'll give a little bit of opportunity, which is common for preoccupied people to do, is they'll say a lot of things that are unfair and are triggering to the other person, but then every once in a while they'll lay out something that is actually communicating from taking ownership of her own feelings. But it gets mixed up in there, and the other person that's getting this onslaught won't recognize the functional communication with the dysfunctional, because they're so hurt and distressed by the dysfunctional. And then he'll say something nasty and angry at her. She'll crumble. She put hands on. I don't know if that's going to escalate. That would be a terrible thing. The one thing I will say is that his family is being very supportive to her, which is kind of a twist on this 90 Day Fiancé story, because a lot of times the families aren't very supportive of the fiancé. But anyway, let's continue watching.
Even if you're mad at someone, you shouldn't say the things that you said to me. I'm upset.
What's the problem?
As long as she can respect, my culture.
I respect your culture. I'm not forcing you to kiss me in public or anything.
in a way.
For my wife, I take just the hand. The street, I take just hand. But in home, I do anything. Okay? Different in America.
So I like that they're, going to the family to actually get their help in this fight. That's very functional to, get some other perspectives, calm down, get some soothing. The mom I think that's his mom soothing her. It's very sweet of the mom. And so things are heading in the right direction. Again, as often on this show, they end up resolving the surface conversation about culture and understanding and this kind of thing, rather than going deeper, which is much more fundamental, is the attachment triggers that are happening to Nicole, and then she does what her behavior does, and the attachment triggers for him that cause him to become aloof and hurtful. He's still being very quiet. I'm guessing he's still escalated in his distress. It's easy to look at this couple and say, well, she's very emotional. She has a lot of emotions. He doesn't have any emotions. I would suspect he has just as much, if not more emotions than she does, but because of his upbringing, he has learned not to express them and not to show any indication of them or even to acknowledge them to himself. And the reason why I say people like him often have more emotions is because she, throughout her life, has expressed her emotions. She's gotten them off of her chest because that's the sort of attachment style that she is, or the sort of person she is. He looks like the sort of person who might not have ever expressed his emotions. And so he's got a lot built up inside of him. So don't be tricked by his aloof, robotic persona, resting strong face, if you will. Don't mistake that for actual non-emotionality, because that's usually not true.
يا تسحبها كيما هي مولفة مع عائلتها وكيما كتشوف في المجتمع تما في أمريكا. You didn't read anything about it. You didn't.
You didn't even tell me that before I came.
I told you that we even can share a room. I told you everything
Yeah,
about
about the sharing the room, but you never told me about showing stuff like that in public.
In the future, you'll be understand, okay?
It's just different for me because it's different in America.
I'm worried a little bit that it's gonna happen again. I mean about my culture, but I know that she get now. She understands. She said me that she understands now.
Yeah, I'm worried too. As often this show will show us, is that the first fight ends up looking like the second fight, ends up looking like the 15th fight, and that's the fight that breaks them up. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but that's usually what happens in life, and that's usually what happens in this show, without a trained couples therapist to intervene. Now, I will say that the family reacted well. They were speaking calmly. They were speaking respectfully. He did say to Nicole, did you not read anything about Moroccan culture before you came over here? It's a worthy question. I wonder if for Nicole, when it comes from him, when it comes from Azan, it feels hurtful because that triggers her like, oh, you don't really love me. But when it comes from his relative, then it feels like, oh, so everyone's like this. It's not personal. Everyone in Morocco is like this, or at least it's a dominant cultural attribute. And so the fact that Azan doesn't want to do PDA with me is not personal. It's just the way everyone is. Even though Azan was saying that, she wasn't really hearing that, but hearing it from other people, it helps her. It's not uncommon, and this is why we want to involve support systems. When you get in fights, people often are ashamed, and they will isolate themselves and not get any outside perspectives from people who are actually trying to help both people. This is actually a great thing that they did. I don't know if the producers engineered it, but they went right into the home. The family surrounded, comforted them, say, come over, sit by her, let's work it out. So, it's positive. I don't know if their family is always going to be there to do that, but we'll see.
From now on, about your culture, I'll respect it.
I hope so.
Hold hands only, okay? I do think about that we had never met before this trip, but I never thought we'd have this many problems. I have no choice but to be understanding of Azan's culture, because if we're going to go through the K1 visa and get married, I have to learn to live with it forever.
So that is a common statement from people on this show is, when we were dating online, everything seemed fine, and then we met, and there were all these problems.
I really want to bring Nicole to this place because I think this is the beautiful place. She had this experience with me, and we're really happy, and that's amazing.
It looks so cute with your turban on.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I know that we have problems together, but I know that we love each other, and I'm sure that she's the one. I have a big surprise today. I just can't wait to show her that.
All right, well, we'll see what happens next time on this show. Subscribe, hit the bell, comment below, do all the things, and please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.